There's a reason a forest can survive for thousands of years. It's not just a collection of individual trees, it's a superorganism, and every superorganism needs a way to communicate. Scientists have long suspected this, but the proof was always just out of reach. Now, thanks to an AI model that thinks like a language translator, we're finally cracking the code. We're not just talking about chemical signals, we're talking about a complex internal language that dictates how a plant lives, grows, and reacts. This discovery is a game changer, revealing a hidden world of cooperation and conflict. A new language is born for all of human history. We have walked through forests and seen them as collections of silent, solitary giants. We hear the wind rustling through their leaves, the creak of their branches, but we have never heard them speak. The thing nobody tells you is that this silence was never a sign of emptiness, but a failure of our own perception. We simply didn't have the right tools to listen. That has now changed forever. In a breakthrough that sounds like it was ripped from the pages of a science fiction novel, scientists have successfully used artificial intelligence to begin decoding the secret language of trees. This is not an exaggeration. We are on the cusp of understanding a form of communication that has existed for hundreds of millions of years, hidden in plain sight. The key to this incredible leap forward is a revolutionary AI program called Plant RNA-FM. Developed by researchers at the prestigious John Innes Center and the University of Exeter. This AI is a type of foundation model built on the same principles as the large language models that power tools like ChatGPT. But instead of being trained on books and websites from the human internet, Plant RNA-FM was trained on the language of life itself, RNA. You see, many people think of DNA as the sole blueprint for life, but that's only half the story. DNA is the master library, holding all the genetic information, but RNA is the messenger, the worker that takes instructions from the DNA and carries them out, building the proteins that make a living thing function. What many overlooked is that RNA isn't just a simple string of code. The way it folds and twists into complex three-dimensional shapes, like tiny, intricate origami, is a language all on its own. These shapes, with structures like hairpin loops and stems, act as a kind of biological grammar. They control everything: how a plant grows, how it responds to drought or disease, and how it defends itself. To put it mildly, this is the internal operating system of the plant kingdom. The scientists fed the AI a staggering 54 billion snippets of RNA, gathered from over 1,124 different plant species, ranging from the simplest algae to the mightiest oaks. The AI's task was simple to state, but incredibly complex to execute: learn the grammar. Through a process called self-supervised learning, the AI began to recognize patterns. It would hide a piece of an RNA sequence and then try to predict the missing part, learning from its mistakes millions of times per second. Over time, it didn't just learn to predict the code. It began to understand the meaning behind the shapes. It identified critical motifs, like the hammerhead ribozyme, a special RNA structure that acts like a pair of molecular scissors, chopping up the RNA of invading viruses to stop an infection in its tracks. The results were astounding. Plant RNA-FM can now predict the function of a piece of RNA with 85% accuracy. This is the biological equivalent of finding the Rosetta Stone, allowing us to translate a language we never even knew existed. The applications are almost beyond imagination. By editing these RNA motifs in rice, for example, scientists believe they could boost drought tolerance by as much as 25%. In a world facing climate change and food shortages, this isn't just an academic exercise. It's a potential lifeline for billions of people. Many people are crazy about this new discovery, but it's just the very beginning of a much larger story. This AI didn't just decode a molecule, it gave us the first key to unlocking a hidden kingdom of communication. But this internal genetic language is just one dialect. What about the messages that travel between the trees? A forest's social network. Long before any computer was programmed, forests were already running on a sophisticated biological network. It's a system so vast and complex that it has been nicknamed the Wood Wide Web. This isn't a clever metaphor, it's a literal description of what's happening right now under your feet. The forest floor is not just dirt and roots. It's threaded with trillions of tiny fungal filaments from what are known as mycorrhizal fungi. These fungi form a symbiotic relationship with the roots of trees. The trees provide the fungi with sugars, food they create through photosynthesis, and in return, the fungi act as a massive extension of the tree's root systems, helping them absorb water and nutrients, like phosphorus and nitrogen from the soil. A single fungus can be connected to dozens of trees, weaving them all together into a single, interconnected community. In some forests, scientists estimate that up to 80% of all tree species are plugged into this shared network. The godmother of this field of research is a Canadian ecologist named Suzanne Simard. For decades, she conducted groundbreaking experiments that proved what many indigenous cultures had known for centuries. The forest is a community, not a competition. In one famous experiment, she used radioactive carbon isotopes to track the flow of resources. She injected a large Douglas fir tree, what she would come to call a mother tree, with the tracer. Soon, she detected that radioactive carbon moving through the fungal network and into the surrounding saplings. The mother tree was feeding its children. What's more, she discovered that these mother trees could recognize their own kin. They would send 40% more carbon to their own offspring than to the saplings of strangers. This network isn't just for sharing food, it's also an alarm system. When a tree is attacked, say, by a hungry gypsy moth caterpillar munching on its needles, it doesn't just sit there and take it. It sends out a distress signal. One of the ways it does this is by releasing chemicals into the air called volatile organic compounds, or VOCs. In the case of the Douglas fir, it releases a compound called methyl jasmonate. The wind carries this scent to neighboring trees. When the neighbors smell this warning, they kick their own defense systems into high gear, ramping up the production of chemicals like tannins in their leaves. Tannins make the leaves taste bitter and difficult for insects to digest, effectively turning the entire neighborhood into an unappetizing meal. But not all things are what they seem, because these warnings don't just travel on the wind. Simard's research proved that these same chemical distress signals are also sent underground, zipping through the fungal network at a speed of about 1 meter per hour. This underground telegraph is far more reliable than the breeze, ensuring the message gets to where it needs to go, even on a calm day. It allows the forest to coordinate a defense, sharing resources to help a struggling neighbor fight off an infestation. This is a world of incredible cooperation, a social network of give and take. But the language of the forest isn't always friendly. Some plants, like the invasive knapweed, use the network for a darker purpose. They release toxins into the fungal web, a form of biological warfare designed to eliminate the native plants around them. The wood-wide web you see is just as complex and dramatic as any human society. There are alliances, rivalries, acts of generosity, and acts of sabotage. It's a silent, slow-motion drama that plays out over decades and centuries. And until now, we've only been able to catch the faintest whispers. Now that we know about the hardware, how are scientists using AI to tap into the live data stream? Listening to the Matrix. While some scientists are focused on decoding the ancient internal language of RNA, another group is using AI to translate what trees are saying right now in real time. These researchers are building what you might call digital druids, technologies that can see, feel, and even smell the health of a plant, interpreting its signals with incredible speed and accuracy. Many people are crazy about the idea of talking to plants, but this is the first time we've had technology that can actually do it in a meaningful way. One of the most practical applications is in agriculture. Every year, farmers lose a massive portion of their crops to disease. Often, by the time the symptoms are visible to the human eye, it's already too late. This is where a startup called Plant Village comes in. They developed an AI that uses what are known as convolutional neural networks, or CNNs. This is the same kind of AI that powers facial recognition on your phone. They train their AI on hundreds of thousands of pictures of plant leaves, teaching it to recognize the telltale signs of various diseases. A farmer can now simply take a picture of a suspicious-looking leaf with their smartphone, and the AI can diagnose the problem with 99% accuracy in the case of tomato blight. It's like having a world-class botanist in your pocket 24/7. But what if you could know a plant was in trouble before any signs appeared at all? What many overlooked is that plants, much like animals, have an electrical system. They send faint electrical signals through their tissues to coordinate growth and respond to their environment. These signals are incredibly weak, but they are there, a kind of plant-based nervous system moving at about 1 centimeter per minute. A Swiss company called Vivint Biosignals has developed sensors that can be attached to the stems of plants to listen in on these electrical fluctuations. They hook up these electrodes and feed the constant stream of voltage data into a recurrent neural network, or RNN, a type of AI that is excellent at finding patterns in time series data. The AI has learned to translate these electrical spikes and dips into specific messages. It can tell when a plant is thirsty, when it's being eaten by an insect, or when it has a nutrient deficiency. Incredibly, the AI can forecast that a plant is under stress a full 48 hours before any physical symptoms appear. They call it the planner net, and it sends alerts directly to a farmer's computer, allowing them to fix a problem before it can spread, potentially saving entire harvests. The thing nobody tells you is that plants also communicate through smell, and our technology is finally catching up. Researchers at MIT have developed a tiny sensor that can detect those VOCs, the airborne chemical alarms, with incredible sensitivity. It can pick up ethylene gas, the ripeness hormone that fruits release, letting farmers know the perfect time to pick. It can also detect the specific chemical signatures released when a plant is being attacked by pests or is suffering from a lack of water. The AI connected to the sensor can instantly classify these signals as thirsty or infested, which could help reduce irrigation water usage by up to 30%. We are building a dictionary translating clicks, buzzes, and scents into actionable information. We are listening to the matrix of the natural world. But with the power to listen comes the power to manipulate. What happens when we can do more than just translate? Pandora's box of agriculture. We are rapidly moving from being passive listeners to active participants in the forests. Conversation, the ability to decode and understand these complex languages, opens a door to a future where we can hack Mother Nature, for better or for worse. To put it mildly, the possibilities are both thrilling and terrifying. Imagine a future of AI-driven forestry. Fleets of drones equipped with nanosensors could swarm through a forest, eavesdropping on the chemical chatter between the trees. If a drone picks up the specific VOC signature of a pine beetle attack on a single birch tree, it could alert forest managers instantly. This would allow them to intervene and stop the infestation before it spreads, preventing the kind of outbreaks that currently destroy over $2 billion worth of timber every single year in North America alone. But why stop there? Using the insights gained from AI like plant RNA-FM, we could go a step further and become architects of life itself. We could engineer talkative hybrid trees specifically designed for reforestation projects. These trees could have enhanced abilities to communicate through the Wood Wide Web, allowing them to establish fungal networks faster, share resources more efficiently, and coordinate their growth to build a healthier, more resilient forest in record time. We could design plants that send out clearer, more specific distress signals when they need water or are under attack from a particular pest, creating a new generation of smart crops that essentially tell us exactly what they need, when they need it. A 2025 paper even frames the entire ecosystem of a plant, the phytobiome, as a communication channel. The paper suggests that AI could be used to optimize the signals between a plant's roots and the beneficial bacteria living in the soil, like engineering bacteria that can whisper to the roots when they detect certain toxins in the ground. But not all things are what they seem, and this incredible power is a double-edged sword. The same technology that could be used to build super resilient forests could also be used to create super monocultures. What happens when a massive agricultural corporation hacks this language not to promote biodiversity, but to eliminate it? They could design a crop that uses the Wood Wide Web to poison any other plant that tries to grow nearby, creating a perfect, sterile field devoid of any weeds. This could have catastrophic consequences for insects, birds, and the entire ecosystem that depends on a variety of plant life. We could be opening a Pandora's box in agriculture, giving a handful of companies unprecedented control over the global food supply. The ethical questions are profound. You see, these signals aren't universal. A tomato's cry for help is different from a sequoia's sigh. If we start editing this language, are we running the risk of creating ecological confusion, disrupting ancient relationships between plants, insects, and fungi that we don't even fully understand? Hacking plant talk could be weaponized. A rogue actor could theoretically design a pathogen that uses the plant's own communication network to spread more effectively, wiping out a nation's food supply. We are stepping into the role of gods in the garden, and we have to ask ourselves if we have the wisdom to handle that responsibility. The secret language of trees may hold a promise for a better future, but it also carries an unspoken warning. So, where does this leave us? Is this just hype, or are we truly on the verge of a new era of interspecies communication? A world awake. So let's bring this all back down to Earth. A lot of people watching this might be wondering, is this real? Did scientists seriously just wake up one morning and start chatting with oak trees like old friends? It sounds absurd, almost like a scene out of a fantasy novel, but the truth is far stranger and far more incredible than the headlines make it seem. No, we are not about to walk into the woods and ask a pine tree for its ancient wisdom. What we're actually uncovering is something even more profound. The language of trees isn't made of words or sentences. It's built from chemistry and electricity, from delicate chains of molecules and quiet, invisible signals that have been flowing between roots and leaves since long before humans learned to speak. What artificial intelligence has given us is not a translator in the human sense. It's more like a biological Rosetta Stone. It allows us to interpret signals that were once completely alien to us, translating the hidden chatter of forests into patterns and data we can finally understand. It's not so much a conversation as it is a new way of listening. For the first time in history, we can read the vital signs of the living world: its stress, its cooperation, its warnings, its celebrations. What most people missed when the story broke is that this isn't a single breakthrough. It's a convergence, a collision of dozens of fields finally working together. Geneticists are decoding the RNA that holds a plant's molecular grammar. Ecologists are studying the underground fungal networks that connect roots for miles, letting trees share nutrients and warnings. Engineers have built sensors sensitive enough to detect electrical pulses that ripple through stems like signals in a nervous system. Chemists have developed devices that can smell volatile organic compounds, those invisible scents that plants use to send messages through the air. And computer scientists have built AIs powerful enough to stitch all these discoveries into one massive, interconnected story. Every piece of technology is revealing one more layer of communication. The RNA gives us the vocabulary, the electrical signals give us the tone, the scents in the air are like public broadcasts. The underground fungal networks, they're the forest's internet, linking entire ecosystems into a shared web of information. Together, they create a kind of living conversation that's been happening right under our noses. And yet, even with all of this, we've only just begun to scratch the surface. We've translated a few words. We're barely starting to understand the grammar, the full, rich language of the forest. The dialect of the living planet itself remains mostly a mystery. Every new discovery seems to raise more questions than it answers. What exactly are trees saying to each other? Are they capable of memory, of decision-making? Do they experience something like awareness, some form of perception that doesn't fit into our definition of consciousness? It's both thrilling and humbling, because no matter how advanced our machines get, the forest continues to outthink us in its own quiet way. It adapts without ego, collaborates without competition, and sustains life with an elegance we can barely comprehend. When you start to look at nature this way, everything changes. A walk in the woods no longer feels like a stroll through scenery. It feels like stepping into a vast, breathing mind. We can no longer see a forest as a passive green backdrop to human activity. It is a living, dynamic, communicative world, a civilization of light and leaf. The oak tree outside your window, the weeds between the cracks in the sidewalk, the ivy climbing your walls, they are all part of this conversation. They are listening, responding, warning each other, even helping one another survive. What once seemed silent is actually alive with information. This research also challenges us to rethink what intelligence really means. For centuries, we've defined it by how closely something resembles us: speech, tools, logic, emotion. But the forest shows us another kind of intelligence: distributed, cooperative, adaptive. A kind that doesn't need a brain to think or a mouth to speak. It's intelligence written in the language of chemistry, light, and time. In that sense, we are not the only communicators on Earth. We've just been the loudest. But now, for the first time, we have the humility and the technology to quiet down and listen. AI has given us new ears to hear what life has been whispering for eons. And maybe that's the most important part. Because when we listen closely enough, when we stop treating nature as background noise and start treating it as conversation, we begin to understand that life isn't something happening around us. It's something happening with us. The great dialogue of Earth has been unfolding for billions of years. Every pulse of sap, every flutter of a leaf, every molecule released into the wind has been part of it. We just never had the tools or the patience to notice. But now, with science and AI working hand in hand, we're finally starting to tune in. The forest is speaking. The question is, are we ready to listen? Outro. We've just scratched the surface of this hidden world. If we can truly understand the language of trees, should we have the right to edit it for our own benefit? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more journeys into the amazing and unknown.